Welcome to the High Ticket Success Podcast, where premium coaches, consultants, and advisors come for bold strategies, big breakthroughs, and real results. I'm your host, Dave DeBoe.
Hey, gang, welcome back to another episode of the High Ticket Success Podcast. Dave DeBoe here, very special guest zooming in from Michigan. Mr. Steve Chandler has been in the coaching space since before it was cool. Steve and I were kind of talking a little bit about when we first connected, and it was, my goodness, getting close to 20 years ago. Steve had co-authored a book with a Canadian fellow that I met, Sam Beckford, very good, amazing guy, and great book. And then they put on an event in Vancouver. I went there and listened to Steve and said, "My goodness, this guy's sharp." And I think a big part of what you're talking about at that time, Steve, was like the fearless idea. Steve has written, I think, close to 30 books in and around coaching. Amazing books. The most recent one, which he was kind enough to send me, was The Power of Systems: How to Create a Life That Works. Goodness knows some of us need help with that still to this day, that's for sure. And Steve, just great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Dave. I'm excited about your podcast. I'm anxious to share it with people. It's badly needed. You know, we don't learn in school how to succeed. We learn many things, but not how to succeed. So I'm glad your voice and your energy and your brains are going out to the world now.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Steve. So, for folks who aren't familiar with you, let's just start with kind of the basics. So, when it comes to coaching, who do you serve and what are the results that you're hoping to get your clients?
Yeah, right now I have a small collection of individual clients, but I began by coaching in corporations, larger groups, leadership teams, and sales teams, and then moved into the world of individual coaching. It just kind of morphed in that direction. And I try to help clients find their basic creativity, their basic optimism that they might have had when they were little kids and then talked themselves out of or got conditioned
Mm-hmm.
by the media or family members to take a real negative view of themselves and the world, and turn that around with individuals to see just how creative they can be on a day-to-day basis if they open their minds.
So, Steve, it's been a little while, but you have a fascinating backstory about how you got into coaching in the first place. Do you mind just kind of rewinding a little bit and tell us when and how you got into this thing? Because I don't even think it existed when you started.
No,
Yeah.
no, there wasn't coaching. There was psychology.
Yeah.
You could go to a shrink. There was business consulting where consultants had a narrow expertise and they coached strategy, actions, and tips and advice. But there wasn't coaching that focused on the inner world of the client and focused on what that client's potential could be as a human being
Hmm.
and to move them out of reacting into creating as what they do throughout the day. So I got into it by accident. I was giving seminars and talks. I was in a corporate training company and coaching had just started. And I think it was launched by Werner Erhard and
Mm.
his transformational technology decades ago. They had a premise that individual human beings could use coaching the same way sports stars got coaching or actors
Mm.
got coaching. Why not coach average people or people in business, people in the
Right.
world, and give them the thorough coaching a great sports coach would give a person, not just in skills, but in the inner world of approach and creativity and freedom. So I got into it by accident because I was giving these talks and
Hmm.
seminars. And one company said, will you stay over and do some coaching of our people? And I was struggling financially at the time, and so I was about to say no.
Hmm.
I don't know, I don't do that. And they said, "We'll pay you this if you stay over a day and coach with our 8 primary people. We'll pay you the same fee that we paid you for your seminars the first day." And I said, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah,
I could do that.
coaching, coaching, yes. I guess I didn't hear you right. Uh, I can do coaching." And so I sat there. They brought people in one at a time. I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and said, "Well, so how's it going with you?" And they would start to talk about their life, and I would listen and maybe say something from the seminar they heard. And I was worried that the manager would come in after one or two and say, "Hey, I thought you knew how to coach. These people are just walking out here saying they just talked to you." And that didn't happen. And they called me later and said, "Hey, that coaching went great. We would like to have you back to do that."
Wow.
And I thought, okay, this can't be that hard. But after a while, I received coaching, and that's really where I learned. There was a great coach, Steve Hardison,
Hmm.
and he was coaching me personally to get me out of debt and I was single father raising kids. I was going
Hmm.
crazy. And anyway, that's how I got into it, totally by accident. And I learned,
About what year was that, Steve? Just out of curiosity.
oh boy, that's about 30 years ago,
Yeah, I would
about
think.
3 decades ago.
Yeah.
So I'm just guessing. I'd have to go back and look at calendars and things. I'm
Yeah, yeah, no,
not
yeah.
very accurate with my pinpointing time, but it was about 30 years ago that that happened. And then coaching became widespread.
Hmm. Yeah, no, most definitely. So you've been in the business for a long time, Steve. You've got, obviously tons of longevity, great case studies, great success stories. Had you started writing books before you got into coaching, or was that something that you really hit the ground with after you became a coach?
Yeah, I was delivering seminars to a nonprofit, to various nonprofit groups.
Hmm.
And we had a system for raising money, getting major gifts. My co-author and I wrote a book, and then I wrote another book before I met Sam Beckford, our mutual friend. And that was before I got into coaching. And then about a year later was when that first coaching happened.
Okay, very good. So the books really kind of hit the ground. You really started cranking them out once you became a coach. I'm just curious, like you're very prolific. I didn't even realize how many books you've written until I started looking into it. I've got, my goodness, I was looking around and I must have 6 or 7 of them myself. Wonderful, wonderful books. What role do they play in your business for you? Like writing books on a regular basis. And do you have kind of a rhythm for it? Is it when you get inspired by a topic that you write a book? What does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, I never think I'm going to write another book. It's funny. And then go into coaching people and I find a way, I find some new system for coaching and I get excited and I think I got to write this down for other people
Hmm.
to use. And so it just happens one book at a time. And then I say, well, good, I'm finished writing books. That'll be enough. 5 books. Who needs more? And then I get an idea. One morning I'll wake up and say, oh, I got it. Okay, one more book. And so that happened. And then this last book, I was sure I was finished. And I was working with Trevor, my co-author, and he's a brilliant, brilliant coach. And he is so good that he has never had to sell his coaching. It's all been done
Wow.
by referral. So he started coaching people by request, and people started referring people to him because he was so good. And he used the systems method and I had been coaching him for a year, and I said, "Boy, this is a great method you're using." And he said, "Well, I got it from you." I said, I said, what? And he started quoting things from books, and I don't read my books. When I'm
Yeah.
finished, I'm off to another book. He started quoting things from books where I'm recommending systems to people. And I said, oh, yeah, I guess I remember that. So that's how it happens.
That is wonderful. And what kind of role do these books play in business lead generation for you? I mean, it doesn't sound like you
No,
necessarily do it for that reason, but I
no.
think it happens organically.
After a while, it began to happen. I found over the years, and I've written books about how to get clients. I have a book called How to Get Clients, emphasizing that social media and books and things like that are overrated
Mm,
as a way to get a high ticket client. They always come from conversations.
hmm.
And however, a book can be helpful. There were times when a CEO wouldn't have time to talk to me in his mind. And I'd say, great, I'll leave you my book. And if you resonate and want a live version of this with any of your people, I'm here. And so I might hear a year later, and he would say, or she would say, I gave it to I didn't have time to read. I'm too busy to read. I gave it to my partner. I gave it to my spouse, and they loved it. So come here and talk to me.
Mm.
So they have helped, but they haven't been primary. Primary has been conversations, finding people who have a challenge or a goal they're not reaching or a problem in their company or in their life and connecting at that level. And that would,
Okay, so what have you found over the years, and if anything has changed, uh, for generating those conversations in the first place, Steve?
it can be anything. After a while, after a couple of decades of coaching, I found out by talking to other coaches that they could be a wonderful coach and terrible at getting clients. They
Oh
they
yeah. Yeah.
they were just mystified, and so they would try to use the internet and all kinds of marketing techniques that never really conveyed the power of coaching. They just
Mm.
put their name out. Hey, I'm a coach. I'll give you a free session, um, and so I used to do these coaching schools. I had coaching
Yeah, I
schools.
remember that.
It's now online. I put it online so I wouldn't have to do it live anymore.
Mm.
And we would brainstorm, where do you find your clients? And we would put it on the whiteboard. And every coach had different ways they found clients. They would meet them in a business group they joined. They'd meet them at the CrossFit they would go to, or they would know somebody who knew somebody who was in a company having trouble. And so they would introduce themselves and say, I'm happy to talk to you and share what I know. So it is such a widespread available opportunity to connect with people. There's no one system that works for everybody, but the key thing is to meet someone, and it can be on the internet, without selling yourself, but
Mm.
connect with what that person has going on. So for example, I would post something on Facebook or LinkedIn, and somebody would comment and say, this was helpful. I just lost my job. I'm looking for another job.
Mm.
And so I would private message them and say, I've got a client who just was searching for a job and found one. If you're interested, I'm happy to share what he went through, might help you. And so then we get a conversation going. So anything you can find that leads you to a conversation about what that other person is going through, not about, hey, I'm a coach, I'm wonderful, you should talk to me, because people don't walk around thinking I need coaching, or some do, but usually people are just in their head about their problems all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
And
so
so it sounds to me like you're saying somebody resonates with you, they kind of mention something, then you offer them, you lead with the giving hand and you offer them a path to a
Yes.
solution to that pain that they're feeling right there.
Yeah.
You refer back to, hey, I just helped a client with this. Let's maybe jump on a call. I can walk you through what he did or
Yes.
what she did, and then that
Exactly.
gets the ball rolling.
That's it. That I have found, and I would teach that system to other coaches. And I started a coaching school that focused only on how to get clients, not how to coach. You don't get a
Hmm.
certification. And it doesn't have to be pain. It can be like I would see a notice that someone had just been hired as VP of something, and they would mention in an online business interview that they are hoping to create a culture of high consciousness and customer service.
Mm.
And so now that's not pain, that's a goal someone has.
Right.
And so I would say I would contact that person and say, I've worked with people at this company creating this very same kind of culture you mentioned. If you'd like to hear about some of the things we put in place, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And they would, and especially people who are new to a job, they're looking for help. They're looking for,
Right.
yeah, help me out. So a lot of clients were acquired that way. So it doesn't have to be pain. It can be.
Yeah, it can be goals. That's
Yeah.
interesting. And I'm wondering because that's kind of, I guess, in marketing terms, we might call that cold outreach. Like the person doesn't know you, wasn't necessarily looking for you. You reached out offering assistance. I'm just curious, Steve, have you gotten any sense of, because these days when you reach out, they're going to Google you, they're going to look you up on LinkedIn, they're going to, all that kind of stuff. Now, if somebody Googles you, they're going to see 8 gazillion books and they're going to see tons of street cred, so to speak, 30 years of the biz, all that kind of stuff. Do you have any sense of how that has helped you land clients, that body of work behind you?
You know, it has had a surprisingly low percentage
Wow.
of connection with people who are ultimately clients. So, what helps so much more than that for
Hmm.
me and the coaches I work with, once you have one client who you're really doing well with, that person is connected to other people.
Right.
And that person can be a champion for your work. So if you really have your mind set on over time developing a referral based business, that is the most effective way I've ever found. So rather than reaching out to cold call, which you can,
Hmm.
and it can work, it doesn't work as well as, I'll give you a short example. I had a client who was CEO of a company, and he had a few problem people who were underperforming, had high potential, but they had attitude issues and self motivation issues and integrity issues in some cases.
Hmm.
And he was wrestling with them, and I would say to him, I'm willing to give them a session or two, just based on our relationship, if you think that would help.
Hmm.
And he would say, yeah, do that. I would be great. And then I'd work with that person for a little while, one or two sessions. And then that person would go to him and say, this is changing my life. I want the company to, uh,
Pay for it. I
yeah,
want to keep it.
I'm trying to think.
I want to keep this going. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 So that works even better than
Yeah.
cold calling and putting your name and having a resume. In fact, I had some CEOs telling me in the early days, I'm glad you're not well known. I'm glad
Mm.
you're a secret weapon of mine. I don't want to go to the country club or the bar I go to with other CEOs and say I just hired Tony Robbins. I'll be a laughing stock.
Hmm.
But they don't know you. Nobody knows you. I've got you. You're my secret weapon. You're not famous. Nobody knows who you are. You got a few books out there. Nobody reads them. And
Some people read them, Steve.
well, at the time, not a lot.
Yeah, I
Uh,
hear you.
but so it's not. A lot of coaches think I've got to make myself well known.
Omnipresent and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That job one is to have thousands of followers, and then it's a numbers game, and they'll finally people will come to me. No, that all you need is one client you're doing well with, and work within your circle of contacts. Don't just go out cold calling. That is such a
That's brutal.
low percentage
Yeah.
approach.
Well, it's kind of soul crushing, that much rejection as well. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard. It's hard to take.
yeah,
So, Steve, you've worked with tons and tons of coaches over the years. You had the coaching school. You've been helping people become more successful coaches. Have you found that people have a real hang up around pricing and starting to value their services to where they can make a good living at this, you know, aka getting into the high ticket side of things?
yeah, yeah. That
Yeah.
I almost everyone,
Yeah.
very few people come out of the box coaching with a real strong fee, and then get that fee right away.
Hmm.
And they have to build up over time.
Yeah.
And it's more important at the beginning to actually have clients than to hold on to some kind of exaggerated fee integrity where I charge a huge amount.
Of course.
If you can do it, fine. If they'll pay it, great, go for it. But I'd rather have 5 clients or 20 clients at a really low fee at the beginning of my career so that I'm coaching every day. That's the most important thing.
You getting your reps in.
Yeah, you're getting those reps in, and
Hmm.
they're telling other people, and then your calendar gets crowded, and you've got more people than you can handle. So almost in self-defense, you raise your fee.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I need to sort out my bandwidth here and be more focused. So the fee will go up almost by itself. But fear of charging what you're worth is a very common early stage of a coaching career. People don't really quite understand how much value they're creating in the other person's life. And it takes a while because they get confused, like you said, with the rejection. They start taking it personally when someone chooses not to work with them. And so they keep their fee down for much longer than they need to.
So what do you recommend to people to kind of figure out what they're, once they've got a bit of a track record, how do we figure out what the fee should be? What is not just what's fair, but what is the value that we bring to people and how do we start charging that?
The only way that ever worked for me or anybody I've seen get really good at that is to have a coach yourself who's performing at a higher level than you are. And then he or she will guide you. Like my coach now charges $200,000 a year to work with him,
Wow.
and he has a waiting list. Now, at the start, he was less than that, but not much less. So when he was coaching me, I would show him a proposal I was giving to a CEO for coaching, and he would say there was a typo in your proposal that you sent me, and I said, "Oh, what is it?" And he said, "You forgot a zero. You were going to charge them $1,000 for your half day uh, coaching session with them. It should have been 10,000. You just missed."
You missed a zero.
So I corrected that for you. And I said, "Oh my gosh, 10,000." So you'd say, "Send it." And so I got coached to, he said, "You're crazy. They're paying other people this, they're paying their consultant that. If you don't value yourself with your fee, they're not going to value what you do." And
Hmm.
that's just how business people think. And so I'd send it and they'd say, "Yeah, good. The fee's fine. Come on in." I'd say, "What? Okay."
Yeah, that
And
inside voice, right? Inside
yeah,
voice is going, what? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so I'd say, "Okay." And then now it was 10,000. And now I just relaxed into that's what people pay me. And
That's
then,
what I think we paid you back in the day, and this is like almost
yeah,
20 years ago for a
yeah,
speaking gig. And I don't recall you being very shy about stating what the investment was. Yeah,
well, but
that's
I had a coach by then. I
yeah.
had my coach who was real straight talking. Uh, he coached me really hard, and that is the fastest. It's a really coaching is a real apprentice based kind of
Mhm.
profession because there aren't many good schools for it. It's not like if you're a lawyer, you go to a great law school. If you're a doctor,
Yeah,
go.
there's definitely lots of coaching schools out there, but you're right. There are, I don't know if there's very many good ones. Yeah,
You're right. And
yeah.
and the ones most of the coaching schools have been about how to coach. And
Hmm.
then you get your certificate. And then in the last week of the program, they teach marketing your practice, but they don't teach what really works. That's why I
Hmm.
started my coaching school. They would just teach a kind of vague marketing thing, and it didn't work for coaches.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough to make a go of that. So as we're kind of wrapping up our conversation here, Steve, we're in a whole new age. You've gone through decades of stuff. I mean, when you first started, the internet was not as big of a thing as it is right now, and now we're in the whole age of artificial intelligence. And I've heard different things about how this may or may not affect the coaching and consulting world. What's kind of your thought on that? Artificial intelligence and people starting to rely more on that versus coaches and consultants.
I think it can be a great help. I know coaches who use it for helping them create proposals, helping them create written content and things like that. But for really transformational coaching, there is a human element that AI just can't provide
Yeah.
and never will be able to. It doesn't, I don't want to reduce the impact of it, it's huge. But it won't put coaches out of business because when I sit with you or you sit with one of your clients, Dave, your very human heart to heart connection with them, your understanding of the nuance of how they feel, their belief systems, you can pick up on the nonverbal communication from your client that AI cannot pick up on.
Hmm.
You can pick up on fear in a client that AI can't really pick up on, and you can coach to that and work with that. And fear is the only problem any of us have in this profession. And so that's a missing piece in AI. So coaches don't need to be panicked about the AI coming in. Just be aware of it, know what it does, and know what you've got that it can't do, and emphasize that when you get your clients.
And I don't know, my personal opinion about this is having worked a lot with AI over the last year and a half, 2 years, is the more things start to go fake via AI, kind of the more demand or the more people will appreciate a genuine human
Yes,
connection. I mean, there's just so much junk out there that's AI generated and it's getting better, higher quality, but it's kind of higher quality junk coming out there. So
yeah,
I agree with you. I was just curious as to I can see it having a kind of a big effect on courses and things like that. People just skipping all of that and asking AI the answers to
Yeah.
their questions around that. But the human touch, I completely agree with you there for sure. No, that's great. So, Steve, always good connecting with you. I'm sure people listening or watching this will want to check you out. Maybe I highly recommend getting a whole bunch of your books. But if people want to find out more about Steve Chandler, where should they go?
I have a website, stevechandler.com. And if you're interested in the books, they're on Amazon.
That's right. Just plunk in that name and you'll get a whole variety of them. That's for sure. I really enjoyed your newest one, Power
Mm,
of Systems. Thank you very much for that. And the compare and contrast of systems versus psychology. I found that it resonated with me, that's for sure. And not beating yourself up for messing up and not being
yeah.
perfect. It's a matter of just not quite having the right system yet and or the system we have isn't working optimally and it's finding one that does. So thank you for sharing your wisdom again. And Steve, thanks for being on the show. This has been an absolute blast. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you for having your podcast. I appreciate that.
All right. All right, everybody, take care and we will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the High Ticket Success Podcast. Want to be featured, share your story, and inspire other premium coaches, consultants, and advisors? Apply now at highticketsuccesspodcast.com/guest.